che mo fa sera?
Welcome to Talking in Stations, a podcast about EVE Online. I'm your host, Matterall, with Carneros.
Good morning.
And Dirk McGurk.
Morning.
All right, guys, we have a special treat for everyone. Today, we're talking to CCP executives. We're talking to, first, I'd like to introduce executive producer, CCP Manbjorn.
Hello.
And right next to him is the new creative director, CCP Berger.
Yay.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
What's going on?
So nice to have you on. I think we've been eager to meet you, and we've looked into you guys a little bit to figure out what your backgrounds were and stuff. So we want to introduce you to the rest of CCP's community if we can today. All right.
Awesome.
Let's do this. Well, which one of you guys want to start? Carneros or Dirk?
Let me jump in. Let me just jump in there since I see you're kind of stumbling out of the gates there. Would totally like to get a bit of background on both of you. I'm not sure how well the EVE community is familiar with you in your roles prior to the recent promotions. By the way, congratulations on those. But yeah, if we can get a bit of background just in terms of, how long you've been at CCP, what the prior roles that you've held were, and kind of, I don't know, maybe if there's something where it's like, you've done something that players would recognize based on what it was you did, as opposed to, maybe the name that was attached to it or anything.
Yeah. Should I start? Sure. You've been here longer, but... So, yeah, my name is CCP Berger. I've been at CCP for 8.5 years. I'm trained as an architect, and I joined CCP as an architect, working on World of Darkness, helping to design buildings and cities for that game. Ended up kind of helping that team to kind of take steps towards building procedurally generated cities. So we're building like massive cities with relatively small teams. When WOD was shut down, I joined the EVE team 2014. And I started as a creative producer. I then slowly kind of went in and started forming like smaller strike teams and dev teams, kind of focused on first UI and then artificial intelligence. I helped found Team Phenomenon that made some of the Drifter content and mining operations, forward operating bases, and all that stuff. And I was also one of the leads on Product Discovery, which is very near and dear to my heart. And if you haven't seen the awesome Nature Biotech cover, holy shit, stop everything, take a look at it. It's insane. Like, my science friends are like going bananas because of this. Like, yeah, making the cover of Nature is huge. Though my wife was like, she's a scientist, she was like, I just published 2 articles last week, and I'm like...
But she didn't have a spaceship.
Yeah, she didn't have the cover. So on top of that, I've also been the art manager here. I was art manager just before I took over the creative director role, and a lot of...
I've had hand in all the creatives.
Yeah, basically, I've had a lot of hats here, and usually a lot of hats at the same time, which is kind of the Icelandic way of rolling.
Yes, very Icelandic.
Now, when did you join CCP?
Me?
Yep.
2010, March of 2010.
Okay.
Came directly, was doing research project in the UK on poverty and architecture, and then started doing cities for vampire games. So quite great step.
Vampire ghettos. Yeah, that's very interesting. You did some work on scarcity, like virtual scarcity. What's that mean?
No, so I did research on. It was called architecture of rapid change and scarce resources. And it was all about how architecture can actually make people feel poorer than they are, and kind of how the built environment can kind of alter your perception and your kind of career in a way, or your kind of human well-being, which actually has, translates really nicely into making games in many ways, because it's amazing how much you can portray through the environment and through kind of the visuals, and when you get visuals and gameplay and story all kind of jiving together, amazing magic can happen. And this is kind of this is something that I've at least tried to strive towards lately. And I mean, I was in the team that brought Abyssal Dead Space to EVE. And I mean, this is definitely something we focused a lot on in Abyssal Dead Space, was this kind of how can we kind of use the environment to emphasize, the moment and the feeling and, the action that's taking place. So yeah, it's pretty proud of that.
How about you, Manbjorn? When did you come to CCP, and what have you done over the past, since you've been there?
I can't even remember what year I started first. I worked with Torve Frans before I actually joined CCP. So my first work for CCP and EVE was actually as an artist making new nebulas.
Oh, nice.
The first thing I did for CCP was like making cloud rings and all kinds of an update. I think it was the first update to the nebula since the relaunch, or since they launched, or we. Then I joined in 2008. I started working with the art department. I think back then everything was called tech art, and my title was tech art supervisor. But then the company quickly moved agile, and we went into a more production role where I was product owner for art for quite some time, being both a tech art producer and an art producer. Worked on everything from first incarnation of Incarna, which was we called Bacchus, to the Incarna, to wormholes, to the list is endless, I think, in terms of expansions and launches or releases. Then I became senior producer when Andy took over the executive producer role back in 2000.
Was it 14 or 15?
No, 15.
14, I think, late 14.
Yeah. And did that up until now, basically.
What exactly is the role of senior producer?
It's very similar. I mean, similar to the job or role I have today, except for some extra responsibilities. So I managed a large portion of, or had management responsibilities for a large portion of the development part, both production, pipeline, roadmaps, keeping up with everything documented, work methods, and all of these, kind of making sure we're delivering on time, reviews, like just in general game development. All the fun stuff.
One thing that's a little bit different is that Andy's role, I guess, has been divided up into 3 people. We have 2 of the 3. We're missing CCP Orca, right?
She should be sitting here. I have no idea why I'm always in the center. Oh, okay.
Well, out of respect, you're putting it in the middle. But and you guys are using her office and technology, which is why we're having such a good connection today.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. So basically,
Spirit is with us here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, in spirit, right.
I think she's still a little broken after the CSM. There's a lot of eating and debating at night, and maybe a tiny bit of alcohol. So
yeah, we'll give her a pass.
Yeah, I'll give her a pass this time around. But so basically we decided to, when Sequel left earlier this year, we decided to kind of use the opportunity and to kind of shake things up a little bit and test out kind of a new approach to leading the EVE team. And one of the things we really wanted to push is this, basically kind of link together different arms of development and the company, and really try to bring community and marketing closer to product, and try to merge and get everyone close together. So
she's product, right?
She's marketing.
He's marketing. Yeah. So he's VP of marketing.
We are technically product development is under us. I mean, and the division was pretty much gameplay, taking, not drowning everyone in everything, basically, so that the creative direction could be taken as such. Mm-hmm. He has time, instead of everyone being in the weeds all the time, then we have separate functions where we can basically do our best in each area without tripping over each other.
Yeah, but at the same time, we can also like kind of get community, get marketing, get customer service earlier into the conversation, and product is more on top of things that are going on their end. And we try to share everything. We work together really closely for a few years now, and are really good friends. So we try to come out as a unified front, and have our debates on next steps and how to kind of fix small nuances. But yeah.
So this is an evolution from Seagull as executive producer and the way things were being run then. This is sort of a new way of doing it, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, I think evolution is definitely a good word for it. I mean, it's just kind of, it's the next obvious step in this journey, I guess.
Yeah. Now, I mean, we were all of us were working in this somehow, but it's just a new structure of it, and
yeah. I mean, the really nice thing about CCP is that since we've gone through like ups and downs, and we've basically kind of we took Agile and now we have like a really strange bastardized version of Agile that we work under, and we basically like if we feel like we need to change how we work, we basically just change how we work, and we try to be extremely honest with ourselves, like, hey, something isn't working, let's try to like
now does the strategy team still exist, or are you guys basically now? I'm trying to get. I really wanted to drill down into executive producer, because before executive producer was kind of this person that was sitting up there at the top of the EVE Online product chain, right? But now it seems as though you've got three people who are working together. So are you guys collectively responsible for strategy, vision, and all of that?
Strategy still is pretty much in the executive vision, and breaking that down is kind of the creative, even though we are then a part of the strategy team, basically, with more people, where that is kind of the filter to make sense out of it all, so that we have a team to work with.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we are the EVE team, the three of us, and when shit hits the fan, we are responsible.
Do the three of you have regular meetings together?
Oh, we meet. I mean, we have scheduled meetings 3 times a week.
Right there on that couch.
3 times.
Yeah, right there on this couch. But we meet. I mean, we usually meet. I mean, we're in the same building. We meet all the time, but we have scheduled meetings 3 times a week. And I think with everything, we probably meet on average maybe 7 times a week or something like that.
We meet every day. We talk every day.
Yeah.
Unless somebody is not in the office.
Yeah.
Now you made mention of the fact of Torfi Franz earlier, and he was always somebody who was very much known as being a very visionary sort of person at CCP. How do you guys see your role where EVE is today? With expanding upon the vision in maybe a way that a Torfi Franz might have looked at it.
That is not.
Torre Franz is a really, really, really dear friend of mine, and we're really, really close. I met up with him a few weeks ago in Seattle, where I was visiting family. I mean, that's definitely my role, kind of going forward. And one of the things that I want to start to kind of have more conversations, at least first within development, and then hopefully, with the community. I want to start to have more conversations about, a little bit further out in the future. Not only kind of what is the next expansion, but what will the next expansion lead to, and why are we taking the steps we're taking in this expansion, and kind of start to give people kind of glimpses into kind of what how this puzzle will fit into a larger picture, basically.
The players are hungry to hear what your vision is for the larger picture. Sometimes, obviously, the right thing to do is make them discover it as they go. Don't foreshadow anything. Don't give them too many clues. Other times, the best approach is to give them some idea of the direction they're headed, and then make them do work along the way to discover more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where are you? What's your thinking on where Eve is coming up over the next year? Is it time to have another vision and present it, or what's your thinking?
So I think you are definitely right, and one of the things that I really, really, really love the tinfoiling that the community can come up with. And we basically we were having so much fun when we were running with the whole Triglavian storyline. And I mean, even further back, I worked with the guys as well on the whole Caroline Star, which is probably my favorite thing, because we had some idea what was going on, but a lot of the time we were just reading Reddit, and we were just like, this is way, way too crazy. We have to change the storyline. This is like, holy hell, this tinfoiling is way too good.
You mean it was totally intended?
It was totally intended all the way, and the community created. But with the Triglavians, we were definitely more kind of, constructed, and more kind of, we knew we had a better kind of sense and overarching storyline that we wanted to go for. And while the kind of the nitty gritty, we allowed the nitty gritty to kind of change and adopt as kind of the community went on. So I'm super fond of stuff like that, and even if it's not the whole community that participates in this, but it gives depth to the story. It gives a depth to the background of the game. And even if you are it basically gives like the people that don't necessarily follow lore, it gives them kind of a reason, rather than just saying, just because, they can kind of say, oh, if you want, you can read more. And it's kind of gives kind of more body in a way. But at the same time, I do think it's really important to some mechanical changes. I think it's really important to kind of start the conversation earlier, and make sure that we get feedback, because some of the changes we want to do, and some of the changes we want to kind of strive for, they require a lot of dialogue, and oftentimes they are they're super controversial when we start kind of talking about them. We have constructive conversation with the CSM, and sometimes we actually bring it out to the community, and we just kind of take it from there. But I think oftentimes it's good to give kind of a tiny bit of a, not necessarily a carrot, but give you kind of a glimpse into kind of the route that we're heading, and you can kind of allow, then you can kind of allow the conversation to you can kind of steer the conversation towards that moment. And usually the community is great at giving awesome feedback most of the time, though of course sometimes you have to put up your shit post goggles and make sure that you're not
The filters.
The filters, yeah. But no, I think it's I'm at least looking forward to Vegas and kind of see what comes out of my mouth.
Both going to be there.
Have you been to Vegas before? Which player meetups have you been to around the world?
I've been to FanFest and eVegas, and then I've done I did few kind of meetups in Atlanta when I lived there, and then I've crashed a couple of meetups when I'm traveling. I've both crashed them without telling people who I was, which is super interesting. Yeah. But I've also
did they say like, you guys, you're awesome? Did you? But that burger guy, so he's. Did you?
No one knew me back then. It was fine.
Those days are gone now.
Those days are gone. Holy hell! Yeah, I kind of blew that with Angry Concord guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Which I guess we didn't mention. He is Angry Concord guy.
Yeah.
For people that don't know, in FanFest, he comes out in Caldari, right? No, Concord outfit, and you can see there he is. We'll have a video up in just a second. There you go. So okay,
we decided this I don't know, what was it, like a week before FanFest something. We were like, hey, we should bring Angry Concord guy out.
Yeah, it's funny. So it's kind of weird to think that Hilmar comes back, takes more interest in EVE Online as opposed to other things, and then like Torfy's, it seems like Torfy's guys come back in as art directors. Is that too simplistic a way to look at it, since you have your own identity and stuff?
Torfy is very big in the minds of the players.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. No, I mean, I think it's we're kind of at an interesting, I guess we're at a kind of an interesting crossroads right now where we went with Ascension, going with Clone State Alpha, going free to play. I think with a lot of games out there that have kind of taken this step and kind of taken it as carefully as we did, it's usually taken kind of 3 years to fully do the transition. And I guess we're what, like 22 months out or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. So we kind of felt it was a good moment to kind of shift tiny bit the focus from kind of this transition and the free to play, and put more focus on kind of the core product and the game itself. So I think kind of with that, it kind of makes sense to bring out a bit of us. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's go back to one of the changes that occurred when Seagull came in. There was the entire change in kind of the development cadence, and we went from the expansion kind of era to the multiple releases a year, and then after that to expansions when need be. Are you guys still happy with that sort of development cadence and release cadence from both a development standpoint as well as a marketing standpoint?
No, we'll probably never be happy, basically. It's a short answer. We're always learning. We're trying out new things. I mean, we've seen frequent releases were just hard to get the message out. What are we doing? What are we to expect? Many changes going on at the same time, and sometimes being not going like piecemealed throughout the year. So we took a stance back then and tried the expansions again, but we're kind of swinging the pendulum back and forth and trying to find like the perfect place for it. Expansions are a good kind of moment. It's also when we update like the login screen and the visuals and the message and kind of put this new era in place. I think just from I've made multiple login screens throughout the years. I've probably made most of them. So, I mean, every time for me, it was just this new freshness. I mean, it's brings something new to the game.
Yeah, it's like a nice refresh, yeah.
So, I mean, coming out with a message and learning kind of from that, it gives us a bit of a milestone also here.
Yeah. But I think, I mean, for the last couple of we've done few expansions now, and kind of we still have the monthly rollouts, But we're trying to kind of, of course, we're trying to package more things together with the expansions and kind of build the whole theme. And, that's a great excuse for an awesome trailer or something.
I think the theme is the keyword here. We're trying to theme things, make them, package them so that they make sense together.
Yeah.
I think we will never go away from the releases, except the frequent releasing. I mean, we actually want to do that better and faster, but yeah.
So that sounds,
and bigger releases are then a different thing.
That sounds like going back towards a little more expansion-oriented stuff that people might have seen in earlier years of EVE Online, or making that happen a bit more.
Or is the theming also being applied down to smaller bits? Is that what you're?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely built up a theme around kind of these expansion moments, and then that of course trickles down to other smaller pieces that kind of might show up a little bit before or kind of towards the next expansion afterwards. I think in many ways, actually having these frequent releases gives us a lot of freedom to try out things, and we can definitely see that with things like the live events now, where we basically are running live events every month, and it allows us to test out all sorts of things and like, hey, here's a crazy idea, let's test it for 2 weeks. If it doesn't work, then we never have to do it again. Or if it's actually awesome, we might want to roll it to the rest of the game. And it's been really nice to have. I mean, we've kind of done a couple of those products lately. I mean, the live events, Abyss of Dead Space, another one, which is a great place to kind of push our graphics, push our kind of gameplay stuff, and then allow us to bring stuff into the game, and we can do much quicker iterations with the frequent releases, versus kind of before we made that change. The kind of everyone would work towards a release, and then nothing happens. Everyone kind of gets thrown into a room for 2 weeks. Everyone dukes it out, and you figure out what the hell you're going to do for the next release, and then you work, and a month before release you have to scope down, and so it's a way healthier kind of ecosystem.
Yeah. I mean, we would not want to go back to the way expansions were done back in the days, because that you were waiting with things that didn't need to wait. You didn't need to wait for. You were just, because that was the release, everything got packaged together, and then everything got shipped together, and that was the active thing that we're working on, both following up afterwards and while working for the new. I mean, now when we talk about expansion, we're putting stuff together that can be together or fits together. Or that's the aim. And I think that's also driven by having like a vision and a strategy, like for what we want out of them, what we're trying to do, but not holding something like a balance back or just because we have a release later. That's the general idea. And updates to our new player experience doesn't need to be an expansion material, for example.
It's true. Now, don't tell us, but do you already have your messages ready for EVE Vegas next month?
Of course.
Everything is ready.
I love it. Are we going to see CCP Orca again?
Yeah, CCP Orca is going to be out. I'm going to be out there. Manbjorn is going to come out. I'm going to be there. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of great developers out. It's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And
okay, here's a tough question. When you're playing EVE,
yes,
as a civilian, and they don't know who you are, type thing, and you're in a corp, and and people ask, who's going to be going to EVE Vegas? I mean, what do you say?
So I think the best advice I got from a CSM member is basically like, my excuse that my mic is broken is kind of done.
Yeah.
But I got a really good excuse the other day. Just say that you're a girl. I have no idea why. And then people say, we don't have to talk. But no, like, I mean, I'm in a small with a couple of CCPers here. And I have few other accounts that are placed in player corporations. I'm not gonna give any hints or tell what they are or where they are. But I try to, I'm a silent member.
Well, and just to kind of go along part of what Carneros was saying there. Let me ask a question that I think everybody out there wants to ask. Do you even Eve, bro? Like, do you play Eve online and use that for your own kind of understanding of the game that you are leading development of?
Absolutely.
Yeah, he just said he plays as a
No,
girl.
I'm asking both of them. I'm, and trying to.
I bet you get free stuff too.
No.
We don't get any free stuff.
We don't get any.
I meant by posing as a female that doesn't talk. I bet you get a lot.
No, yeah, I play plenty, and I mean, of course, we play test a lot, but I try to play,
we taste
few
our own
times a
food.
week,
Yes.
and I have operations going, and all sorts of things. I've done multiple things. I think the two things I've done the least of are probably wormholes and PI, but otherwise I think done most of the other stuff, all the way to like where internal affairs has come knocking and told me that I was doing shady stuff and I had to stop.
Yikes!
That's scary when that happens. Okay,
Well, you're definitely playing Eve if you're doing shady stuff.
I think we go up and down in kind of activity. Sometimes we go out and try joining corps or joining alliances or corps within alliances.
Yeah.
With wormholes was super fun in the beginning. We were really active in that until people kind of got their war machines up and running and just kicked everyone out that wasn't relevant anymore. We were small and we got kicked out. But then, like Bergur saying, I mean, we're trying out new things. We're when Abyssal Space is being play tested, we're really active in just playing these things.
Yeah.
We're just making new characters, trying out that, like what is it to be like a new character. Sometimes then our player accounts just go a bit dormant in the meantime, because this is kind of what we spent our extra time on.
Yeah, but I think, especially, I mean, before Abyssal Dead Space, I tried to play as much. I probably played like every anomaly you can find in Eve, which was interesting, a little bit painful, but fun.
Now, when you're in an alliance or a corporation with regular Eve players, not just other CCPers, and you're listening in on comms, and they sometimes will say things and blame CCP for stuff that obviously has nothing to do with CCP, but whatever. They'll blame CCP for stuff. How do you handle that? I mean, does that get to you? Does that bum you out? No. Okay, cool.
It's not our role. It's not our. I mean, it's neither of our jobs.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be a little thick-skinned if you're here and you're dealing with the community. It kind of, I remember kind of the first incidents I had. It was kind of little like, kind of, player gathering and someone getting a little bit too drunk and kind of tackling you. But
close to your face. Yeah.
I mean, it's fun, and at least kind of at player gatherings, I usually just kind of. I try to turn the conversation into kind of more creative and more solutions. If people are kind of, if they're kind of bitching and moaning about stuff, I kind of rather take them on a little creative journey and figuring out how we can make it better and how can we kind of push it further. And usually, like, 4 hours later, we're all hugging and dancing to Madonna.
Now, one of the things that you mentioned that you had worked on in the past, well, a couple of them actually, in terms of AI, as well as things like the forward operating bases, which of course we're using some of the new AI and whatnot in there. How do you think that has worked out?
I think that whole development was really interesting. So we decided to tackle the AI in game, and the AI was like, I mean, it was like 2003, 2005 material. So we basically kind of, rather than kind of locking ourselves in a room 18 months, we decided to do kind of an incremental development on this. So we started with the drifters that basically, or actually the circadian seekers, which basically didn't do anything, and then we gave them kind of tiny bit of behavior. We did the drifter battleship and the towers, and slowly and incrementally we kind of started to add to kind of our capabilities. Mining operations, you could call for backups. The awesome thing about mining operations is they basically all run the same brain, but they're just skinned differently depending on where they're placed. And then kind of we built up the forward operating bases, the shipyards, and that basically led to Abyssal Dead Space. And Abyssal Dead Space is kind of built on this foundation that the others made. One of the things that, because we're a tiny development team and, we kind of worked on them, some of these things were kind of a little bit have been left behind. And I think it would be really great to kind of go and take another look at them. I think there is a beautiful thought circling here and with the team of how we can actually kind of tie them more together and kind of expand them in a little bit more meaningful way. But I think that should be, that's something that I definitely want to take a look at. We just have to kind of see what the timeline is. I'm not going to commit to anything here, but I think those are I think when they came out, there's they were sleeps. But I mean, some of them have kind of stagnated a little bit, and I don't think we need a whole lot to actually give them a breath of fresh air.
I think it was a much better approach to driving the technology than actually starting technology before. So I think it was a good stepping stone towards what we have now in the AI capabilities.
Yeah, and I mean the feedback from the community, and we would have never been in this place if we hadn't kind of staged this. And there's been so many failures on the way that we've learned from. I mean, there's so often where we've just been no. Well, but the late night phone calls guys, why the hell are thousands of miners in the system? We're just oh shit, we forgot the upper limits. And we've had fights when no players have been involved. But we still seen spikes on server nodes.
You're killing the server without players. That's funny. You're killing the server without players.
Yeah. So
NPCs are just fighting.
And I mean, it's been great. Actually great doing it incrementally and basically kind of running into these issues kind of incrementally rather than locking ourselves in and then ta-da, everything. And I mean, we just have a way smarter product because of that. And I mean, which is actually, I mean,
well,
we
Abyssal
really
Space. Your artwork on Abyssal Space is amazing, and that apparently seems to be successful at least from out here. We don't know what the statistics are like in there, but good job on that.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, that was the next stepping stone in all of this, basically, just to simplify the problem and not to try and change the world at one go.
Yeah.
I think that just helped us a lot. We are still learning a lot from that one.
Yeah.
Is it possible to implement any of that new AI into older material in the game, like missions and other forms of PvE?
In some cases, yes. But in other cases, it might be better to sunset some of this stuff, and we basically just have to look at it one at a time.
Which was the whole purpose. I mean, some of it definitely yes. Other things we're just seeing okay, that might not work out, then we have to find something else.
Yeah. And we have hundreds upon hundreds of missions in game, and I mean, some of them are kind of in a very poor state, and kind of going back and kind of redoing everything would be that's a monumental effort. And we've done the calculation like a few times, and it's just like, no.
Yeah, I mean, if the question is, would we put that AI into the missions themselves, or like, is the damsel in distress gonna have like new AI? Probably not. We would probably make a new one or do something like that rather than try to replicate the old one.
Yeah,
because that would probably kill us in terms of development time.
Yeah, and I think also like there is one thing we can't forget is like, I mean, 2003 when the game comes out, some of these missions are kind of from that era even. People were playing the game on dial-up networks. You couldn't actually pick up the phone and call you if you were playing Eve. So I mean, it's just the whole ecosystem has just changed, and kind of the approach, the best practices. I mean, we were there weren't that many MMOs out at our when we came, and now like open world is like, if it's not open world, like why would you play it?
Yeah.
So there's just there's a lot of learnings that have happened over the last 15 years, and we're just kind of trying to take steps and trying to be proactive and actually taking the next steps and kind of bringing Eve into this new era.
Next
era.
This new era, I guess it's is it going to include, because the AI is becoming so sophisticated, something of a living world that happens even if you're not around? Is that too much?
Getting me on a roll, man.
That is kind of happening now.
Yeah, I mean, it's happening, and it's. I mean, I think living universe is a word that's like probably the word that I've written the most on whiteboards here and on post-it notes. It's just, I mean, kind of think back the first time you kind of, you saw Jita or Major Market Hub, or first time you kind of ran into a small fleet fight somewhere, or first time you basically jumped into low and were ganked. At this moment of like, you're not in empty space, but there's like population and there's density and there's like action going on, and you're kind of part of something bigger. You can like feel your kind of tininess in this kind of grander thing. I think that's really important, and this is something that kind of the AI can bring, and this living universe can kind of bring, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean that people are constantly like shooting you in the face, but it could also just mean that like, hey, there is activity going on, and there is movement, and one of my there are all these like tiny tiny changes we've done. One of them is like when Citadels came out, we had these kind of tiny little lights that like flew in and out of the Citadels, and then we added to the rest of the stations in game. And just that kind of super simple thing just kind of gave the game so much more life and so much more kind of stuff's going on. And I think this is like super important, because it's a social game. It's a game, a lot of the the meat of the game is kind of the amazing social interactions that happen.
People make it better. I think that's it.
If they could just get the AI to participate on social media, they won't even need us. No need for players anymore. Activities happening in Eve.
I'm right there with you, Berger. That living world thing is amazing. And the first time I saw just like 3 or 4 battleships fighting outside a station, I called my wife over to look at this is actually happening. And it was a shocking and thrilling moment at the same time.
Yeah,
that's all it took.
But these are some of the challenges we have today, because Eve is so vast and from a technical point so unpredictable of who does what where, because we can allow you to do anything, zooming both from, I mean, art and graphics complain, you can zoom the camera from right up to your ship to looking at the whole solar system. I mean, this is incredibly hard. So finding both setting stage and beautiful scenery and AI, and then people to meet for fleet fights, these are a bit of complexity that touch on technical game design and creative vision, and finding the boundaries is kind of what we're trying to do. Yeah, all the time.
One of the questions that, or one of the topics that was being discussed quite a bit out in Twitch chat for a long while out here, we haven't asked it yet, is about the potential or the headway being made towards a 64-bit client. It's gone even deeper into multi-threading and all kinds of other stuff out there. But I want to tie it in more to sort of the current state of EVE in terms of performance issues. And, if you can just speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, we're constantly working on it. I mean, we are looking at the 64-bit client. Can't commit to it right now, but we're working on it. We are looking at threading, what we can do in support. I mean, all of these are happening in R&D or some not production ready state first. And when the community, for example, gets so active like lately, and they push all the boundaries of everything, then it's our time to gather data and work towards a future plan for it. Yeah. Because now we know more, now we see more, and then of course running a live game and a live environment, you're also putting up new things, and then they can affect things in ways we didn't expect. So then we have to dial back, and it's challenging and fun to work in, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely.
So the 64-bit client right now is just still something that you are looking into. It's something that you hope can happen at some point in the future, but there's still, there's still not a timeline associated with it.
There's just no timeline. We're working on it, but there's no timeline. I'm not going to say when we're going to ship it, but we are working on it.
I mean, we're taking very active steps, but I mean, there are a lot of active steps we need to take.
Yeah.
Going back a few steps, Nikki K here in chat asked about incursions having a revamp of AI. Is that an area where you could see an improvement, or is that something that would be sunsetted?
There's a lot of super interesting things in incursions, and there's a lot of things that we can learn from incursions. I mean, I've done my fair share of incursions, and I really enjoy them, especially kind of the social element of them. And I think we could, definitely expand on them in one form or another. If that means sunsetting them or changing how they are, or expanding them, I mean, that's still kind of TBD. But I mean, that should be, that's definitely like something that we talk about here, and is very high on our bar conversation. Whoa, what's going on?
That looks like I crashed Zoom.
Yeah, we'll ignore that for a moment.
It's coming back.
Players can't hear that.
Blew his mind.
You totally did, man. I'm right there with you on all this stuff. Like, this is exactly what I was hoping for. All right, so I think we switched around. Sorry, it was my turn. I needed to move. I was getting stale up there on the left.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. But yeah, the idea of things being alive and you being small in the world is like that really appeals to. I think it appeals to anyone who likes immersion.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, I think it's in many ways. I think it's it's at least that was kind of the first thing that made me fall in love with EVE. Is like this the insane. It was so insane, like the scale of it, and just kind of you could just kind of go wherever and do whatever, and you kind of, I don't know. I at least kind of, there was a lot of role playing happening in my head when I. 8 years ago, 7-8 years ago, something like that.
It was everything: the music, the graphics, and just this vastness, and just figuring things out.
That's exactly right. And I think the music doesn't get enough credit for that, helping build that scene, but also the visual graphics and how they've evolved. But yeah.
One of the things that we like to do is bring in the participants in the stream as much as possible. because we're all excited to meet you guys. So they have a few questions they've asked along the way that we want to pose along to you. Have you ever been suicide ganked in game? Don't tell us too many details, but has that ever happened to you?
Yes, and yes.
Were you surprised?
The first time it happened, I was pretty surprised. Not as surprised as when I was gate camped for the first time. That was a big surprise.
Nice.
That was like 2 days into my Eve experience, and I did everything wrong. But yeah, I remember my first suicide gank. I was suicide ganked. I basically blinked, and I was gone. I was like, what?
Did you submit a ticket?
No, I didn't. I only buy things I can afford now.
Have you ever fallen for a scam?
I have opened a can or two.
Fine scam, like a market scam or a...
Well, there's so many different ways to scam someone in EVE Online.
You can be scammed without even knowing it.
Yeah.
I've seen bad shipping contracts. I've seen things offered for sale that weren't what they look like. I've seen investment opportunities that would never pay off, for example. You guys have probably seen half dozen others.
We've seen a lot, and some of them are super deep, and you're just scratching your head. How in the world did people even think of this? But yeah, I mean, I've opened a can or two, and
I think I
think a couple of contracts
back in the days.
Yeah, back in 2011.
Yeah,
when I was quite new. But I've also been scanned by coworkers, which is
yes. I've also been killed at gates by coworkers.
Oh yeah. They
use internal espionage.
Oh yeah. There's there's ups and downs in how much people play, but I mean we've had moments where I've been scammed a few times by coworkers.
Yeah.
But yeah. Direct trade scams by coworkers.
In real life or in the game?
No, in game. Yeah, I get it.
For his lunch.
Yeah, for his lunch, I'm thinking, yeah. They swiped your carrots.
One question I want to go back to here is more in the role of where you are now in terms of communications, right? Number one, you're running. You guys have got the little hydra going there that the term that you used before we went on air, between the executive producer, the creative director, and the head of marketing, right? What do you see, each of you individually, as your role in the communication process to the player base when changes are happening, or when you just want to communicate kind of ongoing vision, or in crisis situations?
I think time will tell a little bit how that will be, but it wouldn't surprise me if myself and Orca will probably kind of pick up a lot of that.
And plus more support from our community people.
Yeah, with more support from Falcon and Gart and a couple of other people. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we're responsible for the game.
It's not going to be like one persona going like, hey, this is the thing happening now. Yeah. I mean, we're just going to divide it between and be stronger as a team.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, Falcon and Guard, great in dealing with the community and everything. I think on a lot of occasions, being able to hear from the mouths of the leadership of the development of the game really has a way of being able to communicate more effectively out there, especially when you're trying to sell something that might get pushback from the from the player base.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, that's something we will definitely take on. I mean, we're not gonna throw anyone under the bus, with controversial things because we're scared or something. I mean, no, absolutely not. I mean, and we're not gonna be, I've never been good in ivory towers, so I'll probably be on the floor a lot and hopefully going to as many gatherings as I can. And I mean, I will be on stage for eVegas and hopefully drinking plenty of beer with you guys and debating all the things.
Well, you could always wear your costume of Concord and then
yeah, if it's super controversial, it's Angry Concord guy. It's not me. It's Angry Concord.
Yeah, totally. Play it off as your character.
Yeah, I mean, Concord is telling us that we have to.
Well, that's awesome. You guys are going to be at eVegas. That'll be a real treat for people. I'm sure you'll be there with everyone else. On the other hand, I want to push back, Dirk. You don't always need to listen to the players. I know everybody says like you don't listen to the players or whatever, but they get it wrong. The guys that are talking to you sometimes get it wrong for the people that aren't talking to you. So, and I know you guys keep that in mind.
Yeah. But I mean, you also have to. I mean, you should also. I mean, you have to be critical of all feedback, and we're critical of each other, and you have to be critical of feedback you're getting from the community, and sometimes because we know kind of the next 5 steps or kind of the next 5 puzzle pieces, and sometimes you have to do like difficult changes for the next few steps to make sense, and this is why I kind of as I was telling earlier, sometimes it's good to give tiny bit of a hint or a view, a kind of a peek into why you're making this move now and what it will actually do to the future game. And kind of just give people a tiny bit more context to changes that are going on.
I would be more worried when people stop talking.
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah.
I hear what you're saying there, Matterall, and I agree with you. Sometimes I think that CCP has been seen to be reactionary to outrage rather than forward-leaning in terms of their own vision, which is why I wanted to know if these guys were going to be out there kind of communicating that vision proactively rather than being reactive to some of these things.
Yeah, I mean,
you remember
hopefully we can do that.
we can't see everything.
Yeah, no,
that's gonna happen, but we try our best, and of course, like we try and everybody has their bias, their filter.
Yeah,
everybody's or some have their agenda. They want their thing in, but I mean, it's ours to try and navigate all of this. But like I say, while there's passion in the community, I'm less worried.
And I mean, I think absolute key in this communication. I mean, our community team does awesome job, and like I have no idea where I would be without them. But I mean, the CSM is so important when it comes to like this stuff. And I mean, I have my guys that I ping, if the sentiment goes bananas or things kind of start to become like little iffy. And I mean, we meet up with we try to meet at least once a month with the CSM, and I mean we're on Hit chat together, so it's really easy to kind of throw stuff back and forth. And also with like we try our best to bring the CSM in early with designs, and kind of when we're starting talking about changes, sometimes it just kind of falls kind of between meetings, so they come in a little later. But I mean, Abyssal Dead Space is a perfect example of where the CSM had like, we kind of gave them an outline of the initial design, and they were kind of a little iffy on some things, had a lot of back and forth, a lot of debate. People did not see eye to eye, and we kind of worked quite close together for like, a month or 6 weeks or something, and kind of actually end up with a really solid product that people really loved. And I mean, that's actually one of those moments where I was a little bit scared when it came out. Like, the amount of shit posting was so low that I was like, oh no one is playing it, no one is doing it. But then what followed was like probably the best few days of Z Killboards ever. It's like refreshing.
I think that was one of my favorite moments just at CCP is when we were waiting for the first person to go into Abyssal.
It was so good.
Just staring at it and like, why is there nobody there? Why is not? And like, they have the key. Somebody has the key.
Yeah.
And of course, he was going with the key to the market.
To Jira. The first 3 keys, like even on like Twitch and everything. Like they did not go into Abyssal Dead Space. They went like straight to Jita, and
we were just waiting. Are they going in?
Okay. So let's just kind of go to that for a second. Do you look at that as being the result of when you develop it to be, hey, look, you've got to go out there and find these filaments first before you can even access the site? You create the scenario where somebody says, well, geez, this is probably worth more to me to go sell than it is to go do the activity. And if you could go back now, would you have basically, I don't know, gifted everybody a filament at first just to get the activity moving?
No, it's the beautiful thing about the open market, or it's your area. But I mean, in true Eve nature, make money first and then go have fun.
Yeah,
they obviously could wait a little bit, and then everybody just jumped in once the first to market had happened.
Yeah, and actually there was, I mean, both, there was all, both to kind of create this fun race type moment, and this was definitely like a super fun race. I mean, there were like 20 or something Twitch streams just on like people trying to find these. Sadly, a couple of sites, we forgot to see them, a couple of sites.
that was one of the gripes initially, was that being able to get these filaments to even go and run the content was kind of limited. They hadn't yet begun to source themselves in the market to any great degree, to the point where I don't know if it was a week later, CCP did in fact gift out filaments. To basically say, hey, go run this stuff.
Yeah, that was actually planned.
That was more.
We wanted to see where the market would end up, so we wouldn't crash the market. We wanted to kind of, from a technical point of view, this was actually super clever, because we were basically velvet roping Abyssal Dead Space, and we could basically see if the servers would fall on their face or not. So rather than
explain velvet roping to them.
Yeah, definitely. So velvet roping is basically when you kind of give, you give one person access, and he gets 2 access tokens to give to his friends, and then they come in, and so you basically build a population, relatively slowly. And this way we could basically we could monitor our servers, and we could see kind of, at the moment when we're hitting dangerous numbers, we could throw more power at it. And what was actually super interesting is, because we did it this way, we had a really slow ramp up to kind of, the where we ended up kind of settling. And it, rather than kind of, everyone rushing in minute 1 and everything kind of hitting, falling on its face, it kind of allowed people to slowly get in. We ended up went out on a Tuesday, and we gave everyone a filament the following Monday, something like that. Or was it a week later? I think it was a week later, yeah. But I mean, by the Friday before the weekend, we actually had, I mean, the market was relatively, there was a nice saturation in the market of filaments. Yeah. But there were, I mean, I'm going to be the first one to admit, we did mess up the seating a little bit. We forgot a couple of sites, because by accident we actually seated in events that had already passed instead of those sites, and it was just like really stupid. We saw it when we kind of took a look at like, okay, how is the seating going, and there was just like a huge, column of IDs that had like no seating. That was a late night, and then we realized and fixed it.
Nice.
But yeah, we're human. We make mistakes. I mean,
yeah, but I don't think anybody really base.
You're breaking up, Dave.
Oh, I think anyway, Abyssal Space is great.
Yeah, there are times when it does sort of, you make a little mistake, but this case, it got all the way to live and no one saw it. Some of the audience knows that I used to work at CCP years ago, and I can remember presenting. I got a project to a certain stage, but I presented it to the CSM first, and it was between summits. So we just talked through separate communication. And they looked at it and they talked me through it. And the right thing to do was to kill the whole idea. So we did. We killed the whole idea, put it away. It didn't show up in any notes because it wasn't during one of the summits. And the players had no idea the CSM did their job, had a big impact, and then went away. And nothing got seen. It functioned perfectly that time.
Yeah, definitely.
But people didn't get credit for what they did.
No, I mean that's the tough part of politics. Sometimes, I mean, every summit we have to redact some notes because there are just subjects that you don't want to spoil the fun, or they're just subjects we need to talk about. Kind of,
We might want to go back to the drawing board and come back and in another form. They're all
and that's okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, are there any things now that we've had a weekend to process the acquisition? Are there any messages that you want to add to the mix out there? Any things that you wanted to say? Any thoughts that you've had that you thought, oh, if I were in the room with them having a beer, I would tell them this right now?
I mean, I would tell them that I'm super excited. I
can see it.
Super, super, super awesome having, working with working with gamers. Which is that's amazing. It's so much fun, and we are going to be an independent subsidiary, and we're not going to change anything. We're still in control of our destiny, and we just have even more freedom now because
business is just running as usual.
Yeah, and I'm just super excited.
Excellent. I know that
both are.
We're hoping that morale is up at CCP and people are excited, and some of us are hoping, maybe they'll hire a couple more community people, and things like that. We see Falcon Guard working their butts off, and we think we sometimes think they can use help.
And all the best to our team, and they're all doing a good job, a great job. You've seen, we ramped up a lot of things over the last year, and I think we've been showing a lot of good velocity in terms of both the abyss and changing things that have been static for some time, and then just doing a bit of bravery, and just standing up to some of the challenges that we've had, and kudos to the whole team here at CCP for that.
Yeah, definitely.
We were supposed to have CCP Falcon on today, but last minute he had something come up where he couldn't get here. However, I know he was on the Meta Show yesterday answering a lot of these questions. When this interview was set up, it was well before the announcement of the acquisition. So again, we were really here to talk to these guys about them, and I think we've addressed the acquisition piece from the part that really that they're willing to answer. I know Falcon did more of that yesterday, so I would totally refer you back to yesterday's Meta Show for more of that kind of let's grind on all of the things that people want to think out there on Reddit and everywhere else.
Okay. So one of the things we're going to be watching is to see what gets announced at eVegas. For example, people will be watching and say, "Oh, are they going to talk? Are they going to talk about? Is there going to be a next Eve Fan Fest in Iceland? And what date would that be?" And people will be watching, and so I'm just warning you now. We're excited. Okay.
I'm super excited for Vegas. I'm trying my hardest to not say anything.
You're doing it perfect. You're expressing your excitement without giving away anything, and stick with that. Don't screw this up yet.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Okay. And
so, is it better to work for a venture capitalist or a gaming company?
There's a softball for you right there.
I'm working for a gaming company right now.
We work for a gaming company. We always work for a gaming company.
Yeah.
Yes. I meant CCP. Is it better to be influenced by venture capitalism or
Time will tell, but I think they will show us. I mean, they have experience. They are closer to what we do. So,
I mean, I probably have more things to talk to them about. I'm like, my personal finances, man. I really don't like talking about money and finances. So, and I really like talking about games and movies, and so I can only guess that yeah, I don't know. At least when I meet gamers, we usually lose track of time, and then like if they know something about architecture and architectural history,
Even better.
It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. So before I know it.
No, that's great.
Going back to sort of a game design sort of question. There's how to build mechanics into the game that players find enjoyable and all of that, right? But given the kind of ecosystem that EVE Online has, right? What are your views towards the overall health of, say, the economy when you're putting in one of these new features, right? Or when you're looking at existing features? Mm-hmm. What kind of time do you spend looking at sort of, how that interacts on a multifaceted basis as an economy? Within the economy?
That definitely depends on the feature. I mean, we're looking at one. We have an analytics team here, and actually, like that team has kind of changed a bit over the last year. And kind of especially now with CCP Ghost and CCP Larkin have joined the analytical team, which gives it way more kind of gameplay know-how and knowledge. So we've been doing like way deeper analysis on systems, and especially like systems that have deep impact on the economy. We look a lot at what's going on and what effect it could have on the economy. Like, if it's kind of the float of ISK, or if it's, ruining something else. And oftentimes, we have conversations about like, hey, object A, is it okay if we crash that market? And what effect will it have on the kind of the economy at whole, and sometimes we've had to make decisions that kind of throw the market into a whirlwind. But I mean, we keep a super close eye on the economy. We keep a super close eye on like the amount of plex and the amount of ISK in game, kind of the balance between faucets and sinks, and I mean that plays a major part in what we do. But we also look at kind of the game health and the actual health of the game, and is a certain feature actually just making the game worse? And even if it has like positive effect on the economy of the game, it might actually have negative effect on happiness or the good of the game. So in many ways, we don't have. I mean, you have GDPs of countries and you have like indexes of countries, but I mean, like most people have listened to financial shows, Dow Jones doesn't really say anything. It's just kind of a number that doesn't really say anything about the day-to-day of life in America. So in many ways, we've talked a lot about is there a way to make like a happiness index, or can you actually kind of more of a game health index? And that's something we
makes that.
Yeah, what kind of creates that? And that's something we talk a lot about and we look at.
I mean, we're EVE players. Are we expected to be happy, or are we expected to be doing what we need to do in the world of EVE?
It would be a better measure than just how many people are online.
Happiness is your own definition. I mean, there is, I mean, it's just like, everyone is beautiful. It's just different levels of beauty, I guess.
Right. Could you do it by region? Could you do it by region so we could see who the happy players are?
Yeah.
By the way,
Really strengthen in this area. I mean, knowing with connecting the dots sometimes with the game, like, and its evolvement over the years now, it's hard to connect all of the pieces into one concrete story. So that's kind of what we have to work towards in the future, is trying to, dot them all together. It's not enough to have like individual oversight of each one. We need to kind of know the whole story, and that's one of the challenges that we have going forward.
Yeah. By the way, the Plex prices went up on news of the sale to Pearl Abyss. So congratulations. The market reacted well.
I mean, again, Dow Jones. What does Dow Jones tell you?
Now.
Just a number.
Yes, number. Yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, I did want to ask a couple more high-level questions that aren't about development necessarily, but just about the game itself for you. Since you're the executive producers, do you think the localization will grow or shrink in the next few years?
The localization?
Yeah.
Different languages that Eve is presented in to segments of the community.
So, I mean, we definitely have plans to look at it. I mean, we have been looking at different markets and if we should localize, what should it be? What should the next country be? We have routinely done tests and done localization regularly. There's nothing concrete now. This is kind of Eirun's area now, like market share and all of that.
Aiden is Orca, right?
Orca, yeah. But yeah, definitely. I mean, we are monitoring it. We also want to up the quality of some of our localizations, and we have different ranges for them, like different types of support depending on the market share, and we'll just continue down that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the other
you might want to consider Korean localization. I'm not sure, but
yeah,
I hear there's a partner upcoming that may have some insight in there.
the other one, Black Desert Online doesn't have a Mac client, but Eve does. So do you think the Mac client will stick around?
That is a question for the ages. It's a difficult platform, I will say. I mean, we've really, at some point we have to make a decision. And the market itself might take that for us, just depending on what kind of hardware is supported, where we are with the different APIs and capabilities and the cost of the development. Currently, a native client is high development cost, and it's just something that we have to do calculations on, use our analytics and do our job. Basically, say, is it worth it? Mm-hmm. Can we do it? Basically, can we afford it?
It does have some intangibles, though, right? It gives you some of that technology nerd credibility of having like a Linux client and a Mac client, and
yeah. And that's kind of why we had it.
Yeah,
we've had it for years, and we've. I
always thought that said so much about CCP. It's like, wow, they have a Linux client for this game. That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it in its current format, it is of course emulation. It has drawbacks and. Yeah, I mean, how quickly can it keep up? I mean, that of course has other effects on what we can develop for the PC client, because the Mac client will put limitation on us what we can do. Mm-hmm. So there's some certain opportunity cost in what technology, how fast we move technologies. So that's the other end of the spectrum where people have to kind of weigh in, like, do we want more for the PC and better, faster, quicker, bigger things, or do we want to keep the Mac?
Man, I'm quite sad that I don't have Twitch chat on the side here to see it just like
all the questions.
That's good. Ignorance is bliss, right?
The last one I have is since Black Desert has like 9 million players and they're acquiring CCP, and Eve being the biggest game CCP has, like, do you think there'll be a marketing budget appropriated for Eve in the future? Because that was one of the things that people would say. It's like, I don't see enough of this game that I love out there.
I mean, I wouldn't connect the two, but it's definitely we want to do that. We want to be more out there. We want to put a better stance and be more visible. Not everyone knows about Eve. Not everyone understands Eve. I think we can do a lot better in the future.
Definitely. And I mean, more players in Eve equals more fun game. I mean, that's kind of
more interesting moments.
Yeah, more possibilities. I always think of Eve as a place where you gain the potential to have fun. Doesn't mean you're always having fun. It's just that that's what you're grinding. You're grinding the potential for shockingly fun moments.
Yeah, and you never know what's going to happen. I mean, that's kind of my favorite element. It's like, you know, there's a moment of grind, but you know, any second that thing can like flip on its head. And you know, especially my main character. I mean, I'm not in any of the big blocks, so I get a lot of surprising action every now and then.
And setbacks.
And I mean, this is one of the strengths. I think this is one of the things that, I mean, this and basically the history that you make in Eve kind of retains you as a player. You're making more than just, you know, entertainment for the night. It's kind of sticking with you. This, of course, getting there as a new player can be pretty tricky. I mean, you're not just going to sit down and wait for that moment and like, oh, now I'm an Eve player. So it's this balance that can be quite challenging for us.
Yeah.
You have a right to the pursuit of happiness in Eve. They're not going to hand it to you.
Yeah.
You got to go out and earn a little happiness on your own.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of like, I mean, that's one of my, I don't know, maybe that's the core element of me, but I mean, you have to earn to be the superhero of Eve. And like, you're not like, I mean, yeah, you're flying like a pretty big, you know, powerful, you know, thing of destruction, you know, minute one in Eve. But very, very, very soon you realize that like there are bigger fishes there, and you're not the superhero from minute one. You kind of have to earn it. You have to, you know, and you can like, I mean, by, you know, day two you can be a superhero in one way or another. But yeah.
Yeah,
but then you meet a
villain.
Or villain.
Or a super villain.
I mean, that's one type of superhero.
I think that's what the Drifters taught us, right? Like,
yeah.
We thought we were good. Yeah.
No.
back of the line. Yeah, well, I think it's great. I was thinking recently that I really, I thought the game emphasized too much PvP too much, which is probably a crazy thing to say, because I thought building needed to be more of a, you know, an aspect to be celebrated, right? Like, but then even building things causes corruptions in the gameplay for other people. You think you're doing something good by putting down a free port, for instance, because that's something that I'm doing, and you realize how you disrupt the ecosystem by making it, thinking you were doing something good. You end up really ruining certain gameplay for people that, you know, were mining in the area. Now they can be hot dropped.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the interesting thing. I mean, oftentimes, you know, people, when they think about PvP, you know, they usually just kind of think about this, I'm shooting you in the face. But there is actually like a super interesting meta PvP around mining. I mean, as long as you're not mining to manufacture your own, kind of participating in this crazy economy. And you know, when people ask me like, oh, you know, you kind of come from this PvE background within CCP. I mean, I strongly disagree. I mean, I'm basically creating, you know, great excuses for PvP. And I think one of the things with the PvE in Eve, you know, in the past was kind of, you know, if this is Eve Online, PvE was kind of sitting out here, and with, you know, the mining operations and this stuff and that space, I feel that we're kind of pulling PvE more into the realm of PvP, and that's something we should, you know, I would like to push even further. And you know, your PvP action should affect the rest of the universe and the rest of the game, and should therefore become, you know, PvP. You know, they should push for more PvP and more kind of have more long-lasting effects on the rest of the economy and the rest of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to create the stage. Basically, we are here to create the stage for everything, so that people can make stuff happen. So if that is from a random encounter in PvE or straight up PvP, then it's ours to facilitate that you have that stage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we put like toys into the stage, and then we put scenery into the stage to create both immersion and opportunities. And I guess that's what we strive for, at least.
Yeah, definitely.
It used to seem very much like PvE was your day job, so that you could go out at night in PvP. But it seems like it's part of your unifying themes in Eve to bring that together. Like, it seems like you're trying to put the game together as a whole, a more holistic experience.
Yeah, that has been kind of very high on a lot of people's agenda, at least within CCP for a while, and that's kind of the reason why. I mean, based on that space, there's a lot of, even if it's a very PvE heavy feature. I mean, almost all the resources are. They become very communal in many ways. I mean, a lot of the loot and a lot of the drop. I mean, the mutoplasmids are incredibly communal if you think about them. And I mean, the market for certain modules, just went through the roof when the mutoplasmids were introduced. And they actually drive. They basically drive the whole chain of gathering resources to actually reprocess to industry and stuff. So it
gave purpose to old unused ships. It gave opportunity for bringing out a new thing. It touches everything, basically. I mean, that's how we strive, even though that this iteration, I mean, this is a pretty solo experience when you're in there, but I mean, it just provides content to the whole world, and that's kind of what we try to aim for also when we introduce features like this.
Yeah,
it has to touch the game as a whole.
Yeah, it can't just be a blimp outside thing.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. Well, last question for you guys. I wanted to go back to something that Angry Concord Man would appreciate, and that is chronicles and lore and stuff like that. Are we going to see that integrated as well, or how do you propose to deal with that? Any more books coming?
Actually, CCP Delegate Zero, he actually answers to me now. Woohoo!
Yay! He's wonderful.
He's great. He's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I hope we will see more lore snippets, more fun, interesting things. I really love my lore. I think I definitely understand, and I get the fact that, I mean, it's not everyone reads it, and I don't have my audience isn't necessarily, our audience for lore and chronicles isn't huge, but it still gives kind of, like we were talking about earlier, it gives more depth and more body and more kind of meaning to the stuff that we're doing. And oftentimes, I feel it helps a lot in the creative processes. When you basically kind of, you can do whatever, but if you kind of set yourself some constraints, and lore can do that, tech can do that, and a lot of things can do that. But kind of with lore, you oftentimes kind of, you find new avenues, because the Triglavians would never do that, or that kind of, they can kind of this mythical thing from another world basically dictate how the design comes out. So I hope to see way more integrated lore in the game, and I hope we can provide you guys with some fun little snippets that you can take and you can dissect and break into tiny pieces and tinfoil everything to doom and inspire us to do even further crazier things.
Awesome.
Great. Well, I know it's a Sunday afternoon for you guys up there, getting into early evening, I guess. So we don't want to take up your entire last day of the weekend before you get back to work on what I'm sure will be a hectic Monday. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to put out there? To try and tell people, I don't know, just whatever it is you want. Any last thoughts?
Well, I think I can't wait to see you all in Vegas in a few weeks' time. It's going to be a super fun, super interesting Vegas. It's going to be, there's going to be some shenanigans, some craziness, and I can't wait to be on stage in the keynote and finally tell you guys all the fun things that Horizon and get your guys' feedback and shit talk and talk Eve.
And just thanks for sticking with us, and thanks for just hope more to come.
Way more to come, and poof.
Great. Well, I definitely want to thank both of you, CCP Manbjorn and CCP Burger. I also want to definitely thank CCP Grendel for helping put this together in the first place, as well as, I don't even know what his CCP name is, but Joe B up there as well. I don't know what his CCP name is, but I definitely want to thank them for the assistance that they gave in helping to put this together. One of the things that I think I understand better now, when I initially posed having getting somebody on the show, it was CCP Manbjorn. We were in the wake of CCP Seagull leaving. He had been the person that was announced to be the new executive producer, and they kept saying, "Well, we want to have Burger and Orca there." And I'm like, okay, that's great, but I really want to focus on the person. But now I understand it better, that you three are working together in a way that didn't quite exist before, and that is a shift to what's going on here. So that's great. But again, thank you, thanks to them, and. Matter all.
Hey man, thank you guys for coming. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm like super excited to see you guys there leading this ship that we're all on.
Amen.
Yeah, this has really been eye-opening, and I'm super just re-energized about it all. So it's great. Awesome. I thought you guys were going to be really quiet, and we'd have to pull stuff out of you.
Well, that's why we bring the
and we'll do it again, and we'll have Orca, and then it'll be the three of you, and then see all the chemistry. You can Photoshop her in, right? One of us can do that. Yeah, awesome show.
Shooting in space with between the three of us, then you can really see how good we are at Eve.
Oh, let's do it. All right, guys. Thanks so much, and thank the audience for showing up today. Carneros and Dirk, thank you very much, and of course McLeod put the show out for you guys. That's all that we have for this week. We will see you next week on Talking in Stations.